Die of Death has a total of 5 killers looking to end your living of life, and since the survivor role is so different from Forsaken's, and since I refuse to even touch that hellhole ever again, instead of analyzing those, I shall analyze the killers thoroughly, starting with everyone's favorite French magician, Artful. My name is the Funny Man, and I hope you enjoy. Artful is one of the 5 killers in Die of Death. With 680 health and 90 stamina, he's incredibly bad in a chase format. However, his goal is rather to corner survivors and cut off points of the map. His slash, or rather smack, is the worst in the game, dealing 20 damage and having by far the shortest hitbox. This makes him even more reliant on his abilities, which he has 3, but technically 6, we'll get to that. First off, Implement places a wall that survivors cannot go through. It is around 50 HP, and Artful can go through it, but it damages by 5 each time. It can be destroyed by abilities like Revolver, and can be passed through by an ability called Cloak, but it only has a cooldown of 15 seconds. This sounds mediocre, but the devs placed at least like 2 to 3 spots on each map that perfectly fit these walls. Examples on the top of my head are probably the ice maps, one tunnel, you know what I'm talking about. Meaning this is probably one of Artful's best abilities. Getting trapped with this can lead to incredible damage value and even kills, especially if you trap multiple people. Now, let's talk about his next ability, Copyright. When using it, it places a small cube after a very long windup. You can only have 2 cubes at once, and it will prevent you from placing another if there are 2. Unlike the wall, the music box has a ton of health and does not lose health over time. If a survivor gets close, they will be slowed and marked to Artful, however it can only slow one person at a time, and has an incredibly long cooldown of 35 seconds. This ability is by far his most important, and it counteracts him having less stamina than survivors. Then finally, there's Repurpose. This is technically a 3-in-1 combo, allowing you to pick your own ability type thing. Using it on a wall destroys it, but pockets it. Using Repurpose again after doing this shoots a rock that explodes on impact with anything. It only deals 15 damage, but slows down survivors, and if one is far enough away, it'll ragdoll them for 1 second. This is probably his worst use for Repurpose, but it isn't a terrible choice, especially on more linear maps. If you pocket a music box, on use it will give Artful a gigantic speed boost for around 5-7 seconds. And finally, using it on a civilian will give you a Puppet. The Puppet slowly chases down survivors and deals 15 damage on hit. It can be killed and takes damage over time, but it has no limit on how many times it can damage survivors. You can also have multiple at once. Artful is probably the worst killer in the game, by far, and it's sadly not even close. First off, it's so easy to interrupt Artful's abilities, especially with Revolver, and now he has to wait for it to go off cooldown just to be stunned during the windup again. This is especially prominent in Copyright. Not to mention his map dependency. Artful's best map is probably the Arctic Mac. But other than that, he can't do much on other maps, and he just loses on glass houses. Comparing his abilities to other killers is like putting a wet noodle against a nuclear bomb. They're lackluster and don't provide enough value for the time it takes to use them, especially the repurposed ones. And by far, his biggest problem is having 90 stamina. This means survivors have more stamina, making him a joke to loot, especially Dash players. It is the point where Artful being bad is a joke in the community, but none of that compares to the worst part about playing Artful. If you didn't know, Artful fucking hates bananas. So, if the last survivor has the banana ability, it's showtime. In this LMS, Artful receives a gigantic speed boost and 170 stamina, but Banana now acts like a gun, having no cooldown and shoots much farther. However, Artful doesn't slip and only gets knocked back and takes 20 damage. This LMS lasts 1:30 but is incredibly survivor-sided. While Artful has more stamina, the stamina regen doesn't change, meaning he has to actually wait longer to recover stamina back to full. Not to mention, most of the time he dies in the LMS anyway, due to the bananas hitting like a truck and him having no HP. Don't get me wrong, it's probably the most fun LMS, but if Artful missed a random banana hiding in a corner instead of helping his team, good luck. Artful's got a lot of fix, so let's go one by one. The slash can stay the same. It's fine to have a killer that mainly relies on their abilities. Implement is fine, but I would decrease the amount of time to place it by just a little and damage Cloak like 5 damage for going through it. For Copyright, I would allow it to slow 2 people. If that turns out to be too good, cut the slowness down a little, and if you're stunned during it, the cooldown is like 5 seconds, and decrease the total cooldown by 5 as well. I would also change it to, if you try to place another after placing 2, still place it, but destroy the oldest one. That way it's easier to repurpose. I can't tell you how many times I've had to go halfway across the map just to repurpose a music box to break a loop, just for them to go to an even worse loop. Speaking of repurpose, I would make it so if you hit a survivor, it deals 10 damage. Finally, give him 100 stamina. That way he instead matches survivor's stamina, allowing him to have a chance at looping while still keeping that ability-dependent playstyle. Artful is very fun to play, but his current state is very poor in the balancing department. If you liked this video, please subscribe and like, and thank you for watching it to the end. Hope you have a very good day, and see you next time.